do say something in the comments. Tell us where you join us from. Tell us anything. What you think about the topic, or just say hi. That way we can welcome you properly. So we've got a couple of speakers in the studio. I suppose indecision is a decision, right, Sandra?
No decision is I think what they say is no decision is a decision.
Yes. So the person who doesn't want to say yes or no ultimately is making a decision not to do something, right? No, and I don't think that's a good place to be. I think it's better to be intentional than to leave things to drift. He said no decision could lead to any conclusion. Whereas if you decide, at least I think you take ownership of the issue and how you want to solve it. But that's just my thoughts. And I wonder what our guests think. Luz, talk to us. Luz always shares genius with us. How you doing, Luz? The mic is yours.
Good evening, Annie. Good evening, Sandra. Thanks for the invitation to speak. And Sandra, thanks for your inspiring and insightful share. And good evening, all the listeners and everyone around the world. Decision making. I think decision making is very important, because if you make a decision, you take leadership of your own life and of the situation in job search or in your personal life in business, and change brings movement. So I like decision making, because something happening then, and you go another way. There's no right or wrong in decision making, because it's your decision. So it's your own way to go on your path. And I think decision making is important, because if you don't take any decision at all, it brings you nothing. So when you make a decision, you go another way, or there's movement forwards. There's always a good thing about it. And about immigrants, I think immigrants' voices matter in shaping decisions that affect us all. Diverse perspectives lead to stronger outcomes, I think. And I believe immigrants play a critical role in our decision-making processes. Whatever it's in business policy or community building, their diverse experiences bring fresh insights to all of us that can give innovation and resilience. Ignoring these voices risk weaker solutions, I think. And I love to hear your thoughts about how we can better integrate these perspectives. And I think listen to all of us. All the people has opinions, and when we change knowledge and thoughts and insights with each other, we grow as a person and in business, and it gives you the opportunity to look at things in another kind of perspective, and that's good for your own vision and from the vision of others. So decision making is very important, and I like to involve others in conversation and in decision making, because if you're leading a team in a company, it's good to let others participate and involve the others in your decision and your plans, and then you get the most of chances that they will join you along the way. And if you are make all the decisions on your own, the opportunity that you end alone at the end of your achievement is great. So if you want to keep all your team members with you, it's better, I think, that you involve them in your plans and in your decision making. So your team will be stronger than if you shared it with others. So that's my share. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Sandra,
Luis.
please.
Yeah, no, thank you for your share and for it's I think that we are in the room of the journey of corporate professional immigrants, and I love that you are including the topic in this conversation. However, as the way I had in mind this event today is that decision making is really a universal thing that affects everyone. So today, we are going to really expand the topic to everyone. If you ever felt stuck, in a job or in a relationship or even in a version of yourself that no longer fits you, this conversation is, like I said, for everyone. Decision making is not just how we make choices, but is why so many of us stay frozen in situations that deep down we know that are not right for us. Like we were saying first, we just don't want to make that decision, and we let life choose where to take us. If we don't make the decision, we don't own that. So in today's topic, I want to walk you. This section is going to be talking about, I want to share about five phases of decision making, and why most people get stuck in two of those phases. And there is
Hello,
something.
Sandra.
Hi.
I'm sorry
Hello.
I cut. Yeah. Sorry I cut into you. So sorry about that. Before we build up on decision making, I just want to highlight that. Thanks for inviting me to the room. I hope I'm audible enough.
We can hear you. Hear you
Yes,
perfectly.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to add to what you're saying that there's a difference between a car and driving a car. So there is decision and there's decision making. Decision is the outcome, decision making is the process. So, the fundamental key is to know, first of all, that making or the process of making and how to make is the skill we should master. A lot of people are looking for destinations. We're looking for, I want a good house, I want a good cloth, I want this outcome, I want that outcome. But seldom do we come to classes like this, seldom do we talk to people like Sandra who can help us think through how to become a person that's able to achieve outcomes. This is like an engine. This seminar is very important because we are discussing the engine room for everyone's future. You will have to make a decision as a human being. And like you said earlier, not making a decision is already a decision. So how to make is far more important than the meal, because you can have the meal today, somebody serves it to you. What happens when you have to make the meal tomorrow? Are you going to keep depending on people, society? Because you must eat, then you now begin to depend on fast food. So are you going to be on the fast food lane in life? Or you're going to learn how to choose your own diet so that you can live longer? I'm starting because I know by the time you build this 5 points, there'll be new things to say. And I just want to say thank you for putting this together. You are really giving people who are drowning a lease of life. Making is how men are made and women are made. Decision making is the making of it. And it should be emphasized that this is the pivotal skill that will be probably the most important skill of all other soft skills. arguably this is top 2 or top 3 for the purpose of argument. So thank you. I just wanted to put that into the foundation before you layer another level. So sorry I cut into you. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you, David. No problem. Thank you for joining us today again. It's really nice to see you here. And yeah, today with this topic, we are going to know how to start making powerful decisions that actually feel like yours, right? Because sometimes we make decisions and they're not really things that we want to do, but that we feel that we should do because of external factors. But they're not really our decisions, even we choose to do what we do. We let external factors such as, what other people think of us or what they think we should be doing, and we make decisions based on those things. But why is that, right? There is something about decision making that is a trap. Most of us were never taught how to make aligned decisions. We were thought that we need to be logical when we make decisions, right? That we need to think it through, to make choices based on what others may expect or approve of, whether it's partners or bosses or society. And here is what happens when we ended up, when we do that, we ended up choosing careers that uh, look good on paper. Happens to many people. It look good in paper. You're going to make more money, but really, it's not what you will have choose. What you truly want to do is just because of those reasons, because it look good on paper, because you are going to make money, and those factors make you choose that way. So that's more the focus of today's conversation, how we are making these decisions. Um, Other example is relationships, right? We choose relationships that check the boxes, um, and we by doing this, by making those choices, we live our lives, and slowly these decisions slowly drain us of joy. So that's what is today's topic. Is important to understand how we are choosing, how are we making our decisions, because we are stuck in a loop, trapped between overanalyzing and also fearing what may happen at the decisions that we are making, right? I, I know this well because there was a time of my life that I wasn't really making decisions based on fear. Um, I was not moving for a few years after I arrived to the US. I was stuck in a role, and I wasn't making the decisions that I needed to make, and it was driven by fear. So that is something that could happen. So when we don't really use that power that we have to make our decisions, and we let fear to keep us stuck where we are. Um, so now, what I want to transition, because I know that we started this event late. Annie, if you don't mind, I'm going to share next the 5 phases of decision making that I really wanted to share today, and they are awareness, evaluation, analysis, paralysis, commitment, and integration. And I'm going to share what is a short share about what each of these means. So awareness, right? Awareness is that inner whisper that we have, that we know something is off, right? So when we become aware of that, or how we we can become aware of that whisper inside, that voice that is whispering inside of us, is just by making a pause and, name that thing that is no longer working for you, that you keep bothered for some reason. And if you become aware of that, just name that that feeling, and in one sentence is enough, right? It could be, this job is not lighting me up. So just by, true begins with naming it. So you become aware that something is off, that you're not happy, and you ask that question, what is it? Why is I feel this way? And then you move to the evaluation phase, when you begin to weighing pros and cons and collecting opinions, maybe even Googling, researching, writing, journaling. You begin to evaluate whatever it is that you feel like you need a change, now that you know and you are aware that you're not good with the place that you are in that moment in life. Then you do this evaluation, and the key question when you are evaluating is to ask yourself, what matters most to me in this decision? If we go with the example I gave in the first phase, that we were becoming aware, what is that that I'm feeling? Oh, I'm not happy right now with what I'm doing. All right. So what matters more in my decision? Because clarity comes with filtering, not just piling on, right? When you evaluate. And moving to the next phase, once you understand and you ask that question, what matters most to me in this decision, we move to the phase of analysis paralysis that we heard about a lot. When people can pass that, and that's one of the phases where people get stuck. Analysis paralysis is the overthinking, the hesitation, the second guessing, and you ask advice to 5 friends, hoping that someone will give you the right answer of what you should be doing. So when that is happening, one exercise that could work for helping you to get past that phase, it's choose one option, right? Of what could be the choice that you can take, and choose that one for 24 hours, and really imagine that that's what your final decision was, right? Act like, this is today. That's it. That was your decision, and how that feels in your body for 24 hours. And, the body will tell you. There was a book that I love a year ago. The name of this book is Being You, Changing the World. And it talks about several things. And one of the things that I learned a lot about that book is that when you make a decision and you really observe your body, how it feels, and if it's the wrong decision, if you're choosing something that is not aligned with who you are and with your values, it will feel heavy. I think this book really gave me a good tool, because I do that. When you choose something and it feels heavy, chances are that you're not making a decision that is aligned with your values and with who you are. And the opposite is true. If you make that decision and it just feels light, right? If it feels right, then chances are that that's what you really want to do. So that is a tip where you can pass this phase of analysis paralysis. And then once you pass that phase, that is the phase that most people get stuck, then the next phase, as I mentioned before, is commitment. If you make pass the analysis phase, then the next wall that we hit is the commitment. It's fear of following through, right? Because what if I fail? What will they say? Is the next phase where we get stuck. And so those two are what I was mentioning at the beginning, that we will have two phases where we get stuck. And again, it's the analysis paralysis and the commitment. When we don't follow through with, if we pass the analysis, we don't follow through to the commitment because we start thinking, what if I fail? What they will say. And what we can do to pass this phase of commitment is just is by thinking, what's the worst thing that could happen if you fail, and how I can handle that. Yeah, is much productive than not making any decision and stay in the paralysis phase. You can evaluate, what will be the things that you could be doing if something, wrong happens. I'll give you an example. When I decide, to take this journey of following my dreams, there was a lot of thinking about the decisions I was making. What if it doesn't work? What if I try this and it's not what I expected? And I have to be honest, it hasn't been easy, but I'm so happy how much I have learned in this journey and how much I have grown. So it's never a loss, right? I make my decision and I learn a lot. And if it doesn't work, you can always find a job, right? At least you tried something you wanted to do. So, so that way, the commitment phase will happen. But I'm sure that if you commit 100% to your decision, you will find a way. You figure out how to, fix and pass any challenges that you may have on the way, because challenges will be there. And once you pass that phase, comes the integration phase, and this is when you take the leap, right? You act on your decision. Once you are past the analysis paralysis, you have commit to what the decision you're making, then you take a leap, and you act on your decision, and you allow yourself to evolve in a new version of yourself by pursuing what you want to pursue. Just you anchor that decision with a small ritual, and write it down. Tell a friend, and celebrate the courage that you have by making that decision. Because every time that you act in alignment, you become more who you truly are. So that's the important reason when we make these decisions, we really need to ask ourselves, are we doing it for what I really feel it feels good to me, or because it will look good to others? So I'm going to make a pause here to see if there is any insights.
Yeah, I say Margaret's joined us, and so I'll come to you next, Margaret, if that's all right. I like Coach. Coach says emotions give you data. I suppose there's 2 points I might make, Sandra. I think one is most decisions we know when it feels right, like you said. But I think that part of that knowing is having clarity on our goals. What are we trying to achieve? I guess it's not get frustrated. I'm always weirded out when people don't have the clear goals. And I think when you have very clear goals, it can guide your behavior, it can guide
Right.
your decisions, it can guide your choices, and guide everything that you do in life, right? I think that when you have your clear goals, and it's easy to decide almost based on your feelings. Does this feel right? Will this get me to nearer to where I want to get to? I think those are legitimate ways to make a decision. I guess I'm contrasting that with people who run big businesses. One of my clients is an executive coach on a global level. He always tells me that sometimes you got to take the time to make your decision, because the data you have to look at is so much. I'm not going down the road of analysis paralysis. I'm saying just some decisions require a lot of input because the implications are often huge. They involve loads of people, loads of departments, loads of money. People want to decide. They want to take their time to decide. That's not a bad thing, is it? I think you can take your time as long as you're not paralyzed, as long as you're not crippled by fear. If you're analyzing the information, analyze the information. That's fine. Just don't do nothing at the end of it. Don't be crippled by how you might feel or not feel. I think that's my take. I wonder what you think of that.
Yeah, I when you said that some decisions are big that involve a lot of people, of course, these are really hard decisions to make. But I think when you have communication, and I don't know exactly, do you have an example? I guess for example, in business, right? You sometimes have
three examples. Now, do we buy a new IT system? Which one do we
right.
buy? I'm saying those are huge decisions, right? And it's not always easy to make those choices on a whim. You have to make them based on the data in front of you. And
Yeah, no, definitely. That's why we one of those phases we talk about is the evaluation, right? When you collect information, and you make your decisions based on the data that you have, the best, the best for the business, the best for you. Yeah, I think that part was considering the evaluation. It's the I think the second step, when you know what after the awareness comes the evaluation, where we collect the information and we evaluate it, right? What's going to happen if we made that decision, and we see if we can move forward. Yeah.
No, so I like Curtis's comments. Excellent information and share, Sandra. Thank you for this discussion. Thank you so much, Curtis. Love your kind words. And Michelle says, use decision making as a tool. You don't fail unless you're dead. Yeah, drastic but true. I'd love to know what Margaret's thoughts are on the topic. Margaret, let's come to you.
Hello, Amy. Hello, Sandra. Thank you so
Hi.
much for your event. Always lovely to see you, beautiful. Luz, thank you for sharing, and thank you, everyone, for who else is here? I don't want to miss somebody else.
Yeah, Coach David is here.
Coach David, yes, hello, and everyone listening. I think for me, and I'm glad that I had that. I was joining in the webinar that Sandra had last night, which is, really got me to thinking today and doing more deep in depth thinking about some of the things, and I'm glad so much that the emotions were also mentioned, because one of the examples that I come up with, you're here to be seen and not heard. If you grow up with those kind of words, it's already putting that mindset, right? You're here to be seen and not heard. So no matter what you're thinking of or what you're doing, you're not going to say anything about it, right? So you're going to keep it within. That also ties into decision making, because I feel, well, I'm just going to be here. I don't have to decide anything. So I'm not going to, bring a voice out. But, and then you start becoming suppressed, and then there's some resistance. But to me, the action plan is actually, and how you get into that is by calling it what it is. It's a negative mindset that should have never been, put there in place, you know, and you have a voice, right? And there's a good reason why we all were equipped with a voice. And so instead of ignoring it, in as far as in choices, and when you learn how to look at them, and you make the decisions that are not just logical decisions, but what is true to you, who you are and what you are and what you represent and what you're trying to do in your life. And I'm glad that you had said, you guys were talking about what do you want to do in life? You have to figure out where you want to go, what you want to be. But before you can even move forward, you really have to look within and start carving and peeling all those layers of why you can't make those, choices or the decisions. What's stopping you? And like Sandra says, what is keeping you from reaching your potential, and what is that? Your absolutely greatness, right? And sharing that with the world, because you're able, when you speak and you have a voice, you might actually be able to save a life. I mean, I'm gonna go really deep there. Your words, and Sandra, when you show up for people, how you do, no matter where they are in life, whether their migration or wherever they're at in life, whatever they're going through, they're really in taking in what you're saying. And yeah. So I think it's very important to, in decision making, to do several exercises like how you provide, and really take a good look and see what aligns, and then, do a follow up, and then you just end up with a call to action for real. What is stopping you? What's delaying you today? Because you only have today. You might not even have tomorrow. So, yeah, don't miss out on life, for sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly, Margaret. That's really important. What you just said there at the end, everything, and what you said at the end, it was just, you closed really well the whole thought that you were sharing. When we don't make those decisions, we're missing out in life, right? We let life pass us by, and life, that's when life is full of regrets at the end for many people, um, because we fail at the skill of decision making. and and I want to transition with that, because it's really good, this point, because it helps us to transition to um, why is that we get stuck in the decision making, right? There is an external model that is broken. The decision making model, the decision making model that we have been taught is an external one, right? We make choices to please other people, to avoid rejection, and to gain approval. But if those choices go against your inner truth, so we ended up misaligned, we ended up exhausted and confused, because we weren't taught that, to tune in, and we just were trained to feed in. So the decisions we're making is to fit in, and that's when I like to bring, the community, that I talk about, the immigrant community, and I love what Margaret mentioned about using our voices is our choice. And now it doesn't matter if it's a voice that is shaking, or it doesn't matter if it is a voice that have an accent. We need to use our voice. So I love when Margaret shared that. So Let's talk about the external versus the internal aligned decision, right? To break it down.
I don't know where, let's look at a couple of comments. I think they're agreeing with you, and they might tie in with where you want to go next. Now, Coach Ashish says, process well shared. Greater self-trust and interaction is required to take full ownership towards whatever the results may be. Commitment empowers right actions. I think we agree with that, don't we? I do. Yeah, you have to trust yourself, and you have to look within. Even though sometimes you have to look outside to gather information too. But I think your point about choosing and then working out how we feel is it's so important. I think Coach Brenda Lewis says the same thing. There are multiple dimensions to the decision making. One, look at what the data says. Two, what does your body tell you? And we're saying the same thing, right? And we're agreeing. Dr. CJ, you made a great comment as well. Glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you. So CJ says the power of choice is magical. Talk about trauma, only prepared choice trauma. If you don't have an exit plan, action is everything. So again, don't just decide and leave it there. Decide and do. Many of us, Sandra, I'm sure you agree. Many people have many thoughts. They make many decisions. Yes, I will do that. They never do. Nothing happens, right? Action is where it's at. And decide and then take action. Also, if you try to get out of the negative spaces, who you surround yourself with can either help you or keep you and not level up.
Right.
There's many parts to making the right decisions, and you support. You support network matters as well. Dr. Lisa, welcome. Glad you're here.
Hi,
She's
Lisa.
We're calling her doctor, but she has got an MPhil now, so she's next to a doctor. So I explain that nicely. Dr. Roxana, you're a different professor already, so you're not going to scream at me. I'm just giving you credit where it's due. Thank you so much for joining us. And so Michelle says, I appreciate you so much, Margaret, Superwoman. So my beloved co-author of my book that you see behind me. And Michelle says, every decision you make, every decision you don't make will be made for you. That's where. So let's learn to embrace deciding. So I'll give the mic back to you, Sandra. So tell us what you answer.
I like all these comments. Thank you, everyone, for participating, because really this room is for everyone. So I love that, and that the comments really bring me back to what we were sharing about, the internal versus the external decisions, right? External aligned decisions is when we make these decisions because of what will they think, because what is the safe choice, because of what is the logical path. So those are external aligned decisions, when we aligned with the external factors to drive the decisions that we make. And when we do internal alignment to make a decision, it sounds more like what it feels true to me, right? What is in alignment with my values? What do I want, regardless of what others expect? So making internal aligned decisions requires a different kind of clarity. It's like we were saying earlier, is an inner trust, right? Because here's the truth. Decisiveness is confidence in action, like Coach David was saying, right? Making decision is taking action. So it's really decisiveness, is confidence in action. It's not about having the perfect answer. Sorry, I'm just finished this point. And it's not about knowing, exactly, but trusting that you will figure out along the way with anything that you challenges that you may have. Go ahead. Anyone was?
Yeah, I thank you so much, Sandra, and I love that you're bringing that up. And then I wanted to circle back to a thing that you really said that is really on my mind that I want to voice out. And this is it. You said that you shouldn't, you care about what people think. Well,
Mm,
let me tell you, you can't care what people think, because people are going to think whatever they want to think of you, and they're already made their choice about you. And it
mm,
doesn't matter, because it's none of our business what they think. And everyone, the minute that you start having self respect for you, you will have self respect for others. And what that looks like to respect others is that even when someone is being negative and making negative comments, making negative posts, sending you the DMs, sharing DMs negatively with others, and then others will share them with you because they're going to do that, right? So you already know what's up and what's going on with everything and everyone. Um, so when you know all that, you have to respect them. Why? Because they have every right to think and feel the way they want to, and
right.
even if they don't align with you, and even though it's negative and it might, hurt your feelings or whatever, you can't make that a part of you. You can't take ownership of that. You cannot own that. Own only you yourself. Let everything else, own themselves, because the minute you accept that, then you start building all of those barriers. Here comes up the walls again,
Mm,
and then it suppresses your voice, right? So I just do for me, and hopefully I'm hoping my main goal, you can't lose sight of goal because of the negativity others bring in your life. Everybody's here to do something. They're either here to do positivity or negativity. One of the two. There's only two energies, right? As far as positive and negative. So that's okay, right? Don't lose sight of your goal. The goal is humanity, right? Be a voice for humanity. And no matter what, let nothing and no one stop you. My gosh, be unstoppable like Sandra. I got that from our webinar yesterday, Sandra. So I'm looking forward to our session. Thank you.
oh, me too. It's gonna be amazing. No, thank you, Margaret. I thank you for bringing that up because it's something that I truly believe on right now, and I not always did, to be honest. That we let external, like we were sharing here, external factors drive our decisions, and stop living our own lives, when at the end really the truth is that people will move on with their lives, and whatever they thought about us, is going to affect us our whole life. So I just think that people is where they are, and it's fine. People, may think about whatever you're doing the way that they're doing, but they're thinking, and it's fine. They have the right to, think what they think, but it's no, is not your problem. You focus on what is good for you, because the truth is that I feel when people, good energy is when people see you growing and support that. Even they know that you still need a lot to grow, but they support that you starting that path. Um, so just don't let that make you lose focus of what you want to get, how much you want to grow. Um, and people is where they are, and that's fine. They need to, also follow their own path, their own findings, and that's fine. Now I want to move to how fear affects every decision and how to face it. Because one of the main things that uh, affect our decisions, impact our decisions, is fear, right? Fear is one of the most biggest unspoken forces behind indecision. And that's what I love using a process that I learned called fear setting. Um, and I'm going to show you how it works. So when you are in front of a decision and you feel the fear of making the decision, define, the worst fear about that decision. What is the absolutely worst that could happen if you take action, and write it down. When you do that, it removes the power of that fear. Um, and it's just a temporary setback of what you feel when you feel that fear. And the next thing to do in fear setting is prevent. What can you do to reduce the chances of those fears coming to happen, to coming, real, true? Is calculate the risk, and with that we lower the anxiety. Then repair. If the worst happens, how could you fix it? How could you support the mistakes? Every mistake is, they say, almost every mistake is fixable, right? And assess the cause of the inaction, right? What will be my life? What will look like in 6 months, a year, or 3 years if I don't decide? The real risk isn't failing; it is never trying. And that's what we played that song, Annie, at the beginning. Try everything. I find that song from Shakira, and it's a cute movie too. In that song, she says, try everything. So the risk of failing is never trying anything, right?
Yeah.
So
We can't not try, can we? I don't think we can. I think that is not a decision in a sense, even though it's a limitation. Maybe I want to go back a few steps, Sandra. Let me welcome Coach Brenda Lee. So I'm sure I mentioned you already. And Dr. Melissa Houston is here as well. She says, document the act. I agree. Document. When we say it's almost like writing your goal down. I think that's where I want to. I think we need clarity about what we're trying to achieve. As Margaret said already, and we've said more than most of us have said this. I think, I think that there's a thing about being intentional about how you live, and part of that intentionality is what I call how you do what you do. So many of us do stuff, we decide stuff, right? I think decision making is part of our toolkit, part of almost our branding, where we're very clear what we're trying, what our way of doing things is, and we stick to it because it's right for us. Sometimes it could be wrong. Let me give an example. For me, I'm very hasty to sack my staff. I say this very often. I employ people, and I'll give you a chance. And if you don't play the game I want you to play according to the way I want my business to run, I will fire you almost instantly. I've done it so many times. And some people will tell me, Annie, you're wrong. Stop sacking them. I'm like, no, I know why I sacked them, because they were just wrong for me and my company. Right? I think we all need to have that clarity about our way. Because now with that, we can say yes to many things and say no to many things as well. You can say yes to the right customer, you can say yes to the right partner, yes to the right supplier, and so on and so forth. So yes to the right marketing method. Everything flows from having your unique way that you're willing to stand by and live by. I think that last I'll say, someone said earlier, I think, was that CJ? Dr. CJ said, when you make your decision, then it's almost a natural commitment to see it through, right. Come hell or high water, as you say. Even though I know I'm wrong to sack people, I could easily train them to be more like I want them to be, for example. but I read more into people's behaviors than I read more into what they do and what they say and how it aligns with my company values very quickly. And I'm willing to stand by my bad choices and I pay the price if I have to. I really am. Most of the time I have to. So, if I sack you, it means I have to do the work myself, right? Fine, I'll do it. I don't care. I'd rather do that than keep someone around, not decide what to do with them for the sake of it. That's how I'm trying to get to. I'm saying we have to be very clear and willing to stand by our stand. Fall on the sword if we have to. But literally we must decide by creating your values. When we say your values, it sounds like something small, Sandra. I'm trying to get people to understand. Really work out who you really are, what really matters to you, and what you're willing to stand and die by. There's many things I'll stand and die by when it comes to my business, but I'm saying, is everyone of the same level of confidence? Henry's saying, greetings from DC, confidence equals confidence in action. I agree. I totally agree. And double-mindedness. Yeah. Double-mindedness equals a symptom of separation from the truth. Sometimes, Henry, you have to live in your own little bubble, like I do. That's what I'm saying. I live in my own little world. I've got my rules. If the world doesn't like it, get used to it. It's what any does, how any works, right? And I would love to know your thoughts. There's a few more to welcome. So Nick is here. So our publisher, JBW, and the event hosts, and she's doing her room with Dr. Leslie on Mondays these days as well. Thanks for being here. Michael, we see you. Why are you not in the studio, Michael? We'll survive. So Soul Man Live is here as well, all the way from Canada. Glad you're here.
Nice. Really nice. One second, Annie. I'm going to put my camera off 1 second, okay?
Okay, no problem. If you're still talking to us, then even better, right? So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Now, Coach, you've been a bit quiet, and Luz, you've been a bit quiet. Now, what's your take so far? I wonder. Luz, feel free.
Well, thank you everybody for your amazing share. And I think decision making is very good, because if you make a decision, you take leadership on your situation or in job search, and there's no right or wrong. I think it's good that you can form your own opinion and make a decision, but also open up for feedback, because if you make a decision, sometimes if you look at it from another kind of perspective, you grow in your vision, and sometimes you change your opinion because the other one gives their opinion too. And it's if you want to change minds, it's good to have conversations with people who disagree with you, because if you are only having conversations with people who agree on you on everything, whose mind you gonna change anyway? So I think when someone has a different opinion, it's very interesting, because that gives you the opportunity to look at things from another kind of perspective. And sometimes that's good in decision making, because when you make a decision, it's not for always good for all the people, and you have to do it together. So involve everyone in decision making. You can have and form your own opinion, but involve and include everyone in your plan and decision making, so it will be good for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Yep. Can I just say one or two things?
Yes, David.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sandra. At the end of the day, we have to make decisions. What we should fear is indecision. And at the end of the day, how do you get experience about making decisions? It's for making bad decisions. And there needs to be the deliberate mastery, and we must master it. The other thing is, we can't wait until the day decision is to be made before we begin to get a competency for decision making. We should go for decision making courses and classes before the day we will need to make the decisions. The other thing is, if you're really afraid about the outcome of a decision, then do risk analysis. Like you said, what if it goes wrong? What if it goes right? Do I have the money, the connection, the relationship? What's going to be my plan B, C, D, E, F, up to Z? Or I have no plan at all. I mean, knowing what you're walking into is a very brilliant way to at least edge your decision making. The last bit I'd like to say is that there are already, and this is the scary part, there are decision engineering systems in our world now. Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Samsung, Apple, all the big guys are now further making decisions for us. It will shock you how many times the car you buy next is something you have been programmed by the ads you kept seeing. Yeah, as you're talking now, all these devices are listening. After the call, you just see Amazon bring to you a book about decision making. You see Google send to you some things about some videos about decision making. You're wondering, how did you hear me speaking? Yes, they do. Now, the second part is subtle infusion. What comes on your screen? We're being programmed to begin to behave a certain way. The third one is movies. We're being conditioned. So awareness is so key to know that this is my mind, not that I'm being brainwashed either directly or subtly. 90% of the things we are seeing in the world today was described in some movies of the past. You paste into people's subconscious minds. You embed into people's subconscious minds the answer you want them to give. Now, how many people are even aware, that's awareness, that this is going on, that some people are trying to program us to make some choices. So I say all of that again to say these classes are so important because not knowing about awareness enough the way Sandra described it has made many of us to go choose the things that are not compatible or aligned with the genuine agenda or our plans in the coming future. We have to find a way of remaining grounded. We have to do awareness detoxification exercises once a week. Awareness, we call them awareness study groups or accountability partnerships. Your self-awareness is probably all we have in a world where information has become weaponized and interaction has become a cheap programming tool for the soul of man. We must have self-awareness, accountability groups. It can be our families. We need those friends that help us to stay rooted. Well, who you can do value check-ins from time to time, because decision making, which is a junior sibling, I'm sorry, I'm going on and on, of critical thinking. It's so bad that critical thinking has been attacked now. Sequential thinking. You can't even tell people to think critically anymore. Then they give you one, sorry for my English, hogwash that you are not sensitive. I mean, somebody wants to jump off a cliff in Africa. My mom will tell you, can you please run very well and jump? When your bones are broken, we'll take you to hospital. Please don't forget to take bandages along your way as you jump. If you say that, people say you're insensitive. I'm like, in Africa, we don't pander people. I mean, you take a jump. So you're not sensitive. People no longer like consequential thinking. People don't like the laws of cause and effect. I mean, there's a police ad. I wish I saw the ad. There's an ad of the police where the police chief was apologizing. The British police chief was apologizing to the blind people because he spoke against them. Just a casual remark. Unfortunately, you have to apologize to everybody. So in this age of political correctness, when we can't even hold difficult or easy conversations without running foul of sensitivity and all of that, self-awareness is king. It's money in your pocket. It's probably all you have. And that one is so being manipulated. You're being programmed by social media, programmed by movies, programmed in the market. Everything is a programming to force you to spend your money or behave a certain way. I can give you an example of such programming, by the way, this decision making that's taken out of our hand from a systemic level. Now, where I come from in Africa, we don't like debt. Any knows this. The average African man would rather pay. He wants to buy a house, he pays. He wishes to pay. He wants to buy a car, he pays. But any migrant that comes into the West must begin to have credit scores. Some very dutiful Africans, very, very intelligent and dutiful Africans have a problem with it because they don't like debt. But the system here makes you a debtor, for example. That's an example of a seismic socio-cultural shift, because where you're coming from, you are upper middle class. And you come into this economy not wanting to owe anybody. You see, a black man, in Africa, we say things like, we don't owe, my father is a debt-free man, my grandfather before him, will I spoil my family name? That's a kind of badge of honor. But in the West, you're going to suffer for that. And as a systemic thing, the economy is structured to run on your life by debt. You don't have debt, you are punished heavily for not having debt. You're punished so heavily. So you're not given a choice to be yourself. So in 5 to 7 years, you get comfortable with debt. You become a debtor very easily. And those are examples of self-awareness. We're being eroded systemically. And I can give you other kinds of shifts that way.
Hold on, Coach. Hold on. Like I can hear what you're saying about the debt thing, for example. You know, again, I think it's for us to keep our counsel. It's for us to keep our goal and our values in front of our mind.
Exactly.
You know, we can't blame Facebook, and we can't blame the rules of society. You know,
and let me just make the last 30 seconds. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying self-awareness is now gold. That thing you're saying about keeping our values in front of us is now gold. Is worth money. Is worth a lot. It's probably all we have. I'm just reinforcing that what Sandra is doing here, what we're doing here, should actually be framed because it's gold. Self-awareness is gold. It's a lot because a lot of factors are now bombarding us and the forces are plenty, and we're even changing without knowing it. We're choosing things that we would not have chosen ordinarily, and we're not batting an eyelid. We're given no other choice. So if you don't keep your self-awareness, which is the foundation tool for the decision making, we're going to keep making decisions a certain way that will affect us. That's my bigger point. But thanks, Annie. Please,
I agree 100%. I mean, I got a friend who spends all day looking at what social media is saying. Before I go to that friend of mine, let me mention because actually saying
you're trying a low jab. You're trying a low jab.
Sandra, look, that's actually saying, Sandra, try everything. It's about be brave enough to suck at something new. I agree. We don't need to get everything right every time, right? I think we just need to do what's right for us, you know, and we can't let anyone else influence us, you know, even though I think we have to be, you know, as you're saying, Coach, I'm with you on this one, right? We need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet and say, yeah, I decided that. I'm responsible. You know, when we started today, you know, first thing, for those who weren't here right at the beginning, I was apologizing because we started 35 minutes late, something like that, because I got my time all wrong. Even though I made a choice yesterday when we set the room up to start at 7 o'clock, I got it wrong. Right. So I can't blame anyone else for that. Right. That's life. I'm all right with that. Thankfully, Sandra's all right with that, and thankfully you are, because you're all here, right? I'm saying that's life. No, so we need to be able to take responsibility based on our intentions, our goal, our values. So we won't say those words. It sounds like we're just talking words, but those things, I think having that grounding in who you are, what you're trying to do, what's going to work for you. That's the trick. When you as you're saying, Coach, when we're self-aware and focused on our goal, our journey, our destiny, maybe even our prophecy, as you talk about, Coach, that's where we're going to get somewhere in life. Let's go to Michael. Henry, I do see your point. Henry is right. Our personal assessments and decisions, that's our opinion, are made within our personal worldview bubbles. At the same time, we can align our long-term follow through actions, especially our team actions, with what's really going on. As Lou said, with that feedback of others, we can get lost, but sometimes I think feedback can help. It's what Lewis was saying. Henry is agreeing with me within reason. You can just be in your little bubble. The word might be wrong. Opinions might be wrong. Feedback might be wrong. You know what's right for you. Take a chance. See what happens. Okay, Michael, I'll come to you. That's all right. Then I'll give the mic to Sandra. Michael, talk to us. Making decisions. What's your take, my friend?
Wait a minute. Isn't Sandra supposed to be doing this?
Speak a bit louder. Look, guess who's at the bottom, Michael?
Sandra, isn't
Hi,
Sandra supposed to be
Michael.
doing this? I mean, I thought
No,
you said
I've
that
got
she
the
was coming up.
buttons.
We like to hear insights too. I have a lot to say with listening to Annie and David, but
Yeah,
we want to hear you
let
too.
Sandra go ahead of me.
No, I want to hear what
Please,
you have
please.
to say. It's fine. You can share with us. Decision making. How do you do it, Michael?
Annie's tired of hearing me.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I try my
Michael.
best to make decisions based on the information that I've, conjured up in my mind, but at the same time, that is relevant to the situation as well. Um, like for instance, just a moment ago, this morning I sent out I found something online, just like any indicated, I do a lot of surfing, and I'm always looking for information, things to just spark my mind, to edge me on every day, to keep me interested in, what's actually going on out there, and also to better myself. I want to know, how can I better myself every single day? It's a big thing for me. Um, I want to do it physically. I also want to do it mentally. I want to do it psychologically. I want to totally and utterly change myself into a better person every single moment of the day. If a single prayer can do it, then I'll do it. But prayer takes you so far, and then after that, you have to work on yourself. So part of working on myself is going along and online and checking out what other people are saying and what kind of wisdoms and advice I can pick up. And one of which was simply interesting, and I was full of ecstasy when I got it. And I thought, wow, this is just so like, us in Africa, where we actually hate upon ourselves and deny ourselves for being who we are, even if we are what we are. We just simply deny it. We were so blind to it. I mean, to the point was we were kind of like, I don't believe that I am that kind of person. I am actually this kind of person, and I live this way. I think the head of the other party in Great Britain, one of the other parties is just like that Nigerian lady. She just doesn't want to be Nigerian, but she knows she's Nigerian, but she says she's British, but doesn't want to. It takes on a different story or heritage of the British thing. So it's kind of like that, you're so into that, And there's some places in history there have been people who have gone to great lengths to ensure that that is the case, that they are who they are, and they do the things that the other folks are doing, regardless of what anybody else is telling them. And so later I posted that and I thought, oh, I did a very good job. But then come to find out today, I do a search on ChatGPT, just my mind, just check to find out if it's true about this person's identity. And lo and behold, it's not necessarily true that I can even uphold it through a different system, a check system that's supposed to be verifiable. So now I have to retract the statement that I had made. I also have to retract the column that I had initially put out, and I have gone ahead and done that. And I've also identified what I have found so that people can make better judgments based on the information, true information that is currently being given. Um, that's the way I like to operate. I'm making decisions on information that is current, making information on on information that I hope is true, and moving forward with that, because my heart will be upset if I come to find out later on that it is not true and that we made a decision that was not relevant or that did not apply simply because we had wrong information. And that and I hate that, because a lot of people are being put into prisons for just with information that is being that is not true, and they try to acquit to try to make themselves innocent. Well, they continue to indicate that they're innocent, but the rest of the world thinks that they're lying and they're devious and so on and so forth. But in reality, the people that we're talking about, no, they're not deviant. They're not so and so forth. Just look at the character, look at the way they talk, listen genuinely to what they're saying, listen genuinely to the evidence and to the other people that are talking or trying to portray them as what they are. If you do not, like Annie had a thing on empathy yesterday, if you do not listen with an empathetic ear, you're gonna miss a lot of things um, on individuals who are trying to swing you to their side or swing you to another side. And you got to make a decision as to which side you want to pick. So I make, so basically, just to dumb it down and tell you how I operate, I make decision based on the information, based on I'm on empathy and based on the information that I'm gathering and getting and seeing and hearing and smelling and knowing. All those senses I use in order to get to the right to the right decision that is comfortable for my heart and that is comfortable for my mind, that is comfortable for my spirit, because my spirit is going to answer to the decisions that I have made once this life ends or wherever else we're going to next. But I want my spirit to be free of this world when I get off this world. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael, for the share. I think the way you make decisions, the way you mention, you go through the whole process, collecting your information, and that's the part of analysis that we were talking about. Doing the analysis and really what I think the topic is also directed to is about, yeah, we know we have to, it's very important to make well-informed decisions, right? And I think what we are also driving this conversation is when we don't make decisions, we're not good at making those decisions, and don't own the decisions that we make. And you shared that you really check with yourself, right? How it feels. And I think that is a very important step, that you are making, sure that you are aligned in how that feels to you. So thank you for the share. Is somebody else trying to speak? Any?
I don't think so.
Sandra, I had something.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, sorry, I didn't know who
Sorry.
was, because I'm looking at this small phone here in front of me the whole time we've been here because couldn't log in from my computer today. Go ahead, Margaret.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Annie. That was great, shared by Michael and David and Luz. And I just wanted to say, because we heard self-awareness, we heard, and a lot of great comments. Dr. CJ had some, and Henry had some, and there was a few people there that were commenting that were real great. But I think, we're missing, and I think it has to do with trust. Do we trust ourselves? And I think sometimes if we're overthinking, I'm an overthinker. Sometimes I can overthink certain things. And I think that leads to decision failure, or fatigue. Like, I don't want to make the decision now because I've just thought about it over and over and over and over.
Mm.
So can I commit after I keep doing that, but I think the foundation in all of us begins with trust. And if we don't trust ourselves, and it sounds like Michael does 100% trust himself because you self-evaluate, right? And that's how you start building trust. But I think in order for us to make a decision, we have to trust that we're going to make a decision, and sometimes circling back to fear, I think sometimes we're afraid of the outcome too. So that also keeps us, from just, it builds up decision fatigue, So, but I feel that we need to trust ourselves more, and really in order to do that, we really have to go within. And I wanted to say, I love you, Michelle B. So, okay, thank you. That's all I was
Yeah, I
going to
love
share
her
was the
too.
trust.
Michelle is she's a legend. Let me say, Michael, Coach Ashif says, "Good on you for making it right."
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And Michelle gives you a compliment as well, Michael. In a beautiful soul, and I think I prefer Coach Ashif's point that when we don't take ownership and responsibility, we can't move forward. Yeah, look, Sandra, there's one. Building on Margaret's points, there's one thing I'd like to say, which is probably what guides me when why I like making these decisions. I have this belief that we make things happen. So I will decide along what I want to happen. And then invariably, it will give me the results I want. That's part of the trust, Margaret. I trust myself to create my reality.
Yep.
By what I choose. Go on, Sandra. I'll give the mic to you.
Yeah, I love that. Any actually reminds me something this morning that I was writing in a comment. It was along those lines that we create. I think somebody said something. Are your goals real? And then I thought about that question, and I said, well, I think we create our reality, right? So, and really making decisions is part of creating that reality that we want, and committing to the decisions that we make bring us, closer to that reality that we envision. But before I continue, I really wanted to acknowledge something that Coach David shared. I think what he was talking about when he was talking about society and how we make decisions because of social media and society in general. I think that I understand what he was talking about, and that goes in the part of making decisions based on external alignment. For example, an example is people who buy a house to keep up with the Johnsons, right? They may be buying a house that they can afford, but they want to keep the appearance, right? So that kind of decisions is really aligned with external conditioning, right? And now that's all I wanted to comment about Davey. I think that I took the comments that he was making in that direction. Something I want to say about the part of fear that we were talking about, which is one of the things that got us stuck in making decisions, is that when we put fear under a microscope, then we realize that most of the time fear is exaggerated, and the solutions are sometimes simpler than we thought, and that the real danger is staying stuck because the fear that doesn't really let us move on. And as a final part of this talk, I want to show you a tool to practice to how to make aligned decisions. It's just a few steps that I shared before in a post, but I have it here for you today. It's a powerful process that you can try today. And I agree with many comments that I hear. We have to document our decisions, and I think that goes in the part of phase 2 analysis paralysis, because we can document it and really get well informed about the decisions that we are going to make. But again, we need to move forward, right? When you recollect all this information, the analysis include also feedback. We pass, our thoughts through some friends that we trust, and at the end is our decision. We can get well informed, but it has to be a decision that feels right with us, in alignment with us. So a simple, powerful process to try is when you are facing a decision that you have to make, write down 2 options to make it simpler, and then list 3 pros and cons for each of the 2 options that you have, and then identify the values of each one, if it aligns, if it's aligned with you. And then after that, circle what is the emotion that comes up for you after this process with those 2 choices, and really based on these emotions, you know how to move forward, or what you are this when you go through this process, it reveals not just what you are deciding, but the why, right? Why you're making decision. It really gives you the alignment to your decision, and whether if it's serving your beliefs or it's holding you back, whatever the decision, that the choice from those 2 that you are taking, is that decision really serving your beliefs or holding you back? So that's just a simple process that can help you, because confidence is not really it's not about being fearless, right? It's about trusting, like Margaret was, her last share was, about trusting that whatever it comes, you can handle it. When it comes to making a decision, trust yourself that if you did this in alignment with who you are, and the great things that you want from these decisions, and they are in alignment with yourself, with everything, with the universe, you will find the way. You will figure out in your journey to after you make this decision, you can figure it out, and I believe in energy and in the universe, and things will work out when this decision is made in total alignment. So and before my closing comments, I just want to give back to anyone that has any comments. I know we are at 5:30 already. Back to you. I think you have the microphone.
I'm mute. I know time flies. If anyone wants to say anything, please flash your mic. It's harder to see on here than normal. Unmute, and then you can share with us. Margaret, I see you on mute. If you flash your mic, please. What do you want to leave us with, Margaret?
I was just going to say thank you again to Sandra for everything that you bring for humanity and how hard you're working. I really appreciate how you're pouring into us. So I want to say thank you to you. Thank you, Annie, for
You're welcome.
hosting this for her also, and Luz for sharing, and just everyone's comments and shares. And yeah, definitely pour some love into Sandra. You know, she's working diligently to really give us some good insights and stuff. So thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Margaret,
you.
for joining.
No, thank you. We're grateful for you being here completely. Look, so the one thing I would say, Sandra, that to build on what you were saying earlier is, there's something to do with self-confidence to make the decisions we have to make. But I think there's the point you were making, like what I take from what you were saying, there's a bigger thing called self-efficacy. Believing that we have the ability to make that decision and make it work. You know, some would say believing in your abilities is more important than believing in your confidence. You know, and I might agree. You know, I think, you know, we have to believe that we can, because now it's not something that we can. It's our time. Our time is now. You know, if you don't decide now, when are you going to decide? I'm saying your time for greatness is now. And that's why I'm happy to decide very quickly, because it's my choice. 10 years ago, no one cared what I thought. That's what I thought anyway, right? Whereas now, I have a voice, like you were saying earlier. I think we have to believe that we are the ones who can change the world, who can change our world, especially. And that comes from almost play. You have to play the game. The game is puzzle pieces. Decisions. It's like a puzzle game. You have to stick the puzzles and the pieces in the right places, right? And in the end, you're going to have a picture that you want. That's why I look at it. I think, you know, you have to believe in yourself truly. You know, more than people might realize. You know, I like Henry's point. Henry says, now that the other shoe has fallen off in this dialogue about decisions, Michael's comments about the question about ultimate consequences that haunts us all in 2025. Is it true? I wonder what your take is, Sandra. I think you mentioned it just now.
I didn't hear the.
I think you mentioned it past.
Can you read it again, because it's really small?
Yeah. So basically, you know, the ultimate question. The question about the ultimate consequences that haunts all of us in 2025 is this. Whatever we see, whatever we read, whatever we hear, is it true?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a hard question, Sandra. How do we know? How do we know what's true? My reality.
It's very hard to know, because it's so much information out there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to go with what works for us. Ultimately, this is the point of our conversation today. Decide knowing your values. Decide being aware of who you are. Decide knowing what your goal, what you're trying to work towards, and dare to make a decision that helps towards that goal. Other people might well think otherwise, as Michael said. Now, other people might have a different point of view. Yeah, but if you know your point of view, stick to it and dare to live it, because that is your reality. That's again. That's how it's going to work, right? You know, Margaret says it's difficult to make a good decision to reach out to somebody who can help you to evaluate some of the decisions that you can make and probably bring you in great insights that will be beneficial. Yeah, it's hard to reach out. You know, who's ever going to know apart from you? See, I think again, my point is trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. You know, I keep saying it because that's where it's at. Other people, they're doing their own decisions. They're not worried about what you think.
At the end, it's your decision.
Yeah.
People can guide you, right? give you tools, like we are, today sharing some tools. It has to be your decision, right? No one can do it for you.
Again, too many people want someone else to blame. I think I think too many people sit around, they wait for someone to tell them, or they ask other people, "What do you think?" And what they don't ask themselves, Sandra, is, does this person have any idea what I'm working towards? Do they have any idea of my reality? Do they have any idea about this topic? Let me tell you now, it might, again, to my personal thought, family and friends have no idea. Stop asking them. They'll never tell you the right answer. So don't use that as a reason to procrastinate. Do your thing and make it work. And then they'll see that that's the right thing to do. So too many of us ask friends, what does that friend know about this topic? Nothing. How can they help you? They can't. We have to be willing to stand by on our own 2 feet, make our mistakes, learn our lessons, and go again. So Margaret says, yes, it's a choice. I'm reaching out to you, Sandra. So do connect. I'm sure you two have spoken already. If you haven't, please do have that conversation for sure. And Coach Ashley says, question with diplomacy to extract the truth. Again, I'm ignorant. I live in the southwest of England, and I can look at I looked at my window earlier. There's no one on the streets. I was like, yeah, perfect. That's how my life is, right? I don't need to see people to get to do what I need to do in my life. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't think anyone does. I think trust yourself enough to know, even if you were stuck in a cave somewhere, you still know what to do for you. It's a way of thinking, right? Anyway, Sandra, anything else you want to say? And Coach David, anything you want to say? Luz, anything you want to say before we go? No?
Well, I'd just like to say that nobody's going to make decisions for anyone. You are the only person who have yourself, and this needs to be taken seriously. Otherwise, we will continue to have what we have today. So it's either we change system and start making better decisions, or we simply commit to the status quo, which is the way we are structured today. So thank you very much, Sandra and Amy, for having me. Michael, thank you. Lace, thank you, and every other person. Thank you so much.
So thank you.
Thank you, baby, for joining us today.
So Luz, I see you're unmuted. The mic is yours. Ooh. Luz, no?
Yes,
No.
thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for your share and everybody who listened. And we are born to stretch and to grow. And decision making will help us to achieve our goals. And it's good to make a decision because something is happening and you take leadership. And there's no right or wrong because it's your decision. And that's very important. And thank you, everybody, for listening and changing thoughts and insights that can help us all to grow. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Luz. Thank you. I think Henry is agreeing with you. Henry says, when you make your decisions in ways that maximize trust for yourself and for your life partners, you will want to find and align with the truth. I like that. And that's the same as I was saying earlier. When you make a decision based on your values, your goals, your beliefs, then you will make them work. That's the truth. I mean, it says, by the way, truth has no pros and cons. Now that's decision making for you, my friends. Now, interesting topic, Sandra. Interesting topic. It feels like we'll probably need another conversation about this sometime. I don't know when or how. But I'm sure we'll do it sometime, right?
Yeah, I think that the main takeaway, and I think everybody got it,
Yeah, I'm good.
at least from the
Thanks,
comments
everyone.
I hear, is that, it's important to, I know, Michael is, sorry, Michael, you were going to talk, right?
Yeah, I just want to leave you with a
I just to finish
last
that
thought.
comment.
Yeah, I
Go
can't
ahead.
take
Okay,
myself.
go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead, my friend.
Creating your own what do you call it?
Reality.
Reality. There we go. That's the word. Creating your own reality is very important. And it's not only important for yourself, but it's also important for the world, because you never know what you have to offer. So making decisions and being consistent will put you in a comfortable space where you can make honest decisions for yourself, and most probably for the betterment of the world, which is by and large more important than anything else. I believe, anyway, at this particular juncture in time, I believe that's the most important thing in the world. I'm very thankful that Sandra brought up this conversation, because yeah, and I was able to now relay this information back to you after learning it from this section from people like Annie and from Sandra. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I love the closing comments from you. You may be preventing the world from gifts that you have if you keep stuck, right? Moving forward with these important decisions. So, and I think what I was saying before was that I think everybody got the message, how important it is to, when it comes to decisions, to align with yourself, with how it feels to you, and with the values that you hold, right? And just to close, I just want to give this message. You don't need permission to live the life that feels right to you, and you don't have to wait for the fear to go away. You just need to see it clearly and name it. The most courageous version of yourself is in the other side of decisions. And let today be, the day that you move from stuck to self-lead. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And if this resonates with everyone, just continue in the comments the conversation. And really happy that this topic resonates with many people today, and that you appreciate this conversation today. Thank you.
Thank
Back
you.
to you,
It's a great topic. Thank you so much, Sandra. Your webinar yesterday, why didn't you invite me? Why wasn't I there? The one Margaret
I posted. I invited several times. You didn't tell me you wanted to go. I'll send you the link.
You didn't send me. Please send me the link. I don't look at posts. I don't see posts. If anyone's, I'll let you send me a link to a post and say, look. Okay. I say, look at this. I don't see it.
Okay, the way I'll do. Okay, I will. I will remember that. The way I do is I send the details to whoever showed interest I want to join. Because there is a registration. It's for free. No, nothing like that. It's just that I manage like a registration. So I'll send you the link for the next one.
Yeah, please do. So I guess for everyone here, have you shared the link for the DebEx? In case people here want to, if you want to put the link in the comments on the event page, in case people want to join us, I'm going to be there. So I can't wait to see you do your thing on stage. I'm excited for you. I'm excited.
Thank you so much. Me too.
Great. My friends, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone. So do go in the event page on the comment section and respond to comments and connect with people who resonate with you, my friends. Thank you so much. We're back here in 2 weeks' time. In that time, it's enough time for me to create the draft of the book. Hopefully, we'll be nearer to the finish.
More news about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one connect to have conversations Do connect, have conversations with make friends. That's what we're here for. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Enjoy.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Lois.
Without champagne or rum, but she's success with global.media.